Hello, and a good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of Tube. Hope today, hope you're feeling grand and all's well in your world. My master plan today was to come out to the middle of nowhere. It's actually where me and my sister came and did like a little wonder video a couple of weeks ago, and do Q&A out in the middle of nowhere. But the local racetrack is in full swing, and it's really windy. So, you join me in my van, everybody. So, welcome to my van. Okay, so, Q&A A and Q Wednesday in the van. Okay, start a thing here. Okay, so anyway, let's dive into question 1, shall we, today? Yes, let's do that. You know, lock the doors as well, you know, just in case, you know. Badgers. There's been reports of badger theft around here. Not people stealing badgers, you know, badgers stealing from people. You know. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. So, question 1 today, everybody, is, have you ever... can't even speak. Have you ever tried any Bugera amps? No. Or have I? No, I haven't. No, I've never tried any. I've heard people go on about them and this, that, and the other, but I've never tried any myself, so I don't really have any experience with them. The ones I've heard sound really good, but again, not been a particularly kind of like, you know, valve-driven kind of person. I don't really... I'm not kind of leaning towards it. You mentioned the Plexi style one, and that one does interest me, but it's way out of my price range. So, again, it doesn't really interest me. But they look good. They sound good for the price as well. But again, that's from what I've heard. I've got no first-hand experience. It's all second-hand experience. So, be that for what it may. You know what I mean? But people with a tube, let us know. Comment section below if anybody's tried or experienced any of these Bagheera amps, and what are they like? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they ugly? Are they smelly? You know, do badgers not want to steal them because they're not very good, or do badgers really want to steal them? Let us know in the comment section below. Because I've got no first-hand experience with Bagheera amps, so I don't know. I'd like to try the Plexi style one day, maybe. I don't know. We will see. But anyway, yeah, hope that's a question. That was really quick, wasn't it? That was ridiculously quick. But saying that, I can't talk about it because I've got no experience. I've never tried one. I've heard people play through them. But again, that's not first-hand experience, and it'd just be kind of disingenuous for me to go, oh yes, they're great. And it's like, well, you don't know that. You know, they could be absolutely terrible. I could hate them. But I don't know. I mean, people with a tube, help us out. Let us know in the comment section below. So yeah, I'm going to move on to question 2. Kind of ramble-free, that one, wasn't it? Gravy Jones! Okay, so let's check the camera. Is that on the right setting? Yeah, we're all good. Just making sure. Okay, so question 2 today is about the Vox Silvertop and the Boss DS2. So, question 2 is, which wah would run better with the Boss DS2 between the V847 non-true bypass wah pedal and the V846, which is true bypass? And which one would be closest to John Fruscinate's tone? Okay, so which wah pedal would be better with the DS2, the non-true bypass, or the true bypass wah? Personally, I don't like true bypass wah pedals. I find them very sterile, personally, to my ear. I've tried a few true bypass. It's one of the reasons I know with the new Ibanez why you can switch it to true bypass or non-true bypass, I believe. But I just don't... I've tried so many true bypass wah pedals, and every single one I've tried, saying that, true bypass pedals don't really appeal to me either. I don't really like true bypass pedals. I like the way certain pedals, especially wah-wah pedals, darken the sound. You know, I like the way they tone everything down and make everything kind of like, you know, warmer. Like when I use my Fender Stage, I like to run a wah-wah with it. Even if I don't use the wah, I like to have a wah in there because it just darkens it down. And I like that more than just being straight into it. So, for me, I personally feel the V847, yeah, the chrome top, the silver top, that's my favourite wah pedal, so I'm a bit biased in a way. But again, I don't like true bypass. I just don't. It doesn't appeal to me at all. Certain pedals, I don't care, but most of the time, it's like, you know, I like the signal getting taken away from the amp because it makes it a warmer sound, and that makes me happier because I like darker tones. So, so yeah, I mean, for me, I would recommend the V847, the non-true bypass, for the John Fruscinate tone, and for playing happier with the DS2, the non-true bypass, because it's, to me, the V847 Silvertop is a great stand-in substitute for the WH10 wah, and also it's got a real nice tone roll-off, and also pedals adore that pedal. And you can still do the crazy John Fruscinate things with it when you engage the DS2. Funnily enough, actually, you can get a more crazy wah-wah, kind of John Frusciante crazy sound out of the Vox than you can the Ibanez. I think it's got to do with kind of like the Vox has a little bit more travel in its in the foot pedal. It's got a little bit more sweep, but there's no sooty. Okay, but no, I mean, personally, I think the non-true bypass one is the way to go, personally. It's just a really wicked wah-wah pedal. Like I say, it's my favourite wah-wah pedal of all time. It's just really good. It sounds great. It looks great. It's really robust. It's sturdy. They're just constantly wicked. They're so easy to maintain as well. If a pot gets scratchy, it's dead easy to, take it off your board, take the back panel off, and then just service all the pot, and away you go again. They look wicked. I reckon the Vox Silvertop is the best looking wah-wah pedal that's ever been. The whole chrome foot switch with the Vox in the top and the Vox logo, it's just so cool. But for the John Frusciante thing and working best with the DS2, I'd go for non-true bypass. Just like I say, because it'll warm up your tone, get rid of the highs, which will help you get the John tone anyway. And it'll also play happier with the DS2. The DS2, as we well know, is a finicky little git. So that's what I would recommend. But again, it's what works for me might not work for you. You've got to try these things firsthand. It's like Miyamoto Musashi says. I mean, I quote this all the time, but it's so true. It made beard hair again. When Miyamoto Musashi in his book The 5 Rings talks about kind of engaging 25 people in a fight and how you approach that thing, how you approach that kind of thing, he talks about, you should study this thoroughly. And like I say, what he means by that, he's not kind of sit there going, right, if he comes at me from this direction and that one, I can do this and the other. He doesn't mean that. He means literally go out and pick a fight with 25 people and see if you can beat them. And that's the same thing with gear and guitars and amps and stuff like that. You have to go out and try everything in a practical sense. There's no good looking at it from a theoretical standpoint and going, oh, this will work for me because it's got all the right specs I want. It might not. I've just realised, is that super dark, isn't it? Oh, that's not good. Okay, I don't know if that's any brighter. I don't know how dark it was. It looked really dark on the LCD screen, but one of my little gripes with the Zoom, just to digress off the question, one of my little gripes with the Zoom the Q8, sorry, not G8, the Q8 is the LCD screen is like a gloss. It's like really shiny. So when you get it in a bright light, you can't see it. I always believe kind of like touchscreens should be that kind of like, matte kind of satiny finish so you can actually see the screen. Anyway, I can't tell. So I do apologise if this video is really dark, everybody. But again, who wants to see my face? Anyway, okay, so back to the wah-wah pedal question. Quickly, pretty much kind of covered it. But I mean, I'd go non-true bypass. It'll work better for John Frusciante, and I reckon the V847 is just like the king of wah-wahs in my opinion. It looks great, sounds great. It's non-true bypass, which in my opinion makes everything better, because it just takes away that harsh. I'm going to open my window. It's warm, everybody. Believe it or not, it's one of the reasons you came out here. Remember, Dave? Ooh, oh, I'm so clever today. Anyway, but yeah, so it's just, I just like the cut off of highs that non-true bypass pedals, especially wah-wah pedals, give like to a sound. It just makes it just less harsh and more warm. I like that more. So, but for me, it'd be the V847. But like I say, it is totally personal preference. That might not work for you. You have to take that into consideration when going to these kind of things, because it's really, I don't know, it's kind of, you need to know from your experience. Like I say, it doesn't matter if something's got the right specs you want. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It's like, I always thought Seymour Duncan SSL 1s would work for me because John Frusciante used them. I literally hate them. I can't stand them. They just don't work for me anymore. I know, well, they never did, really. I mean, when I first got them, they sounded great, and over a period of time, you just like, no, this isn't for me. So you got to be aware of that. But so yeah, so it's an expensive thing to say get both and try, but but if you can go to a guitar shop and try true bypass and non-true bypass wah-wah pedals, I'd recommend that, because again, practical experience in these things is so much better than theoretical experience in these things. Theoretical experience will get you a little bit of the way. Practical experience will get you all the way, if that makes any sense. You'll know more by doing than thinking. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Because like I say, you can sit there all day and look at schematics and stuff like this and go, oh, I know exactly that this will work for me because of whatever, this, that, and the other. But that's not necessarily the case. It could be totally not what you think. It's weird. Again, this is why you got to experience everything you can possibly experience, because then you'll know for sure, and which is a lot better. So yeah, for me, the V847 is king there, the non-true bypass model. I have tried the V846, didn't like it. I don't like true bypass. I just don't. They don't wah right either. There's just, I don't know, maybe it's psychosomatic with me. I don't know, but there's something in the wah that doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound or feel right. I don't know exactly what it is, but it just doesn't feel right. And I like to go by how things feel. If it feels good, then I'm happy. And if I don't have to think about it, then I'm even happier. Whereas if I start playing something and it's making me think about it, I don't like that. I would much rather just play and not have to think. I don't want to have to think when I play. I want to just be able to shut off to the world and just dive into the music and just kind of swim around in it. I don't want to have to be kind of going, oh, the amp's not quite got enough this, or that's not quite this and that. I don't want to think about that. I just want to play. I'm not interested in the ins and outs of it. And I know what works for me, and I know what doesn't. Again, through experience of trying so much stuff, I know what works for me and what doesn't. So the non-true bypass, I reckon, would be the best way to go. But like I say, that's only from my perspective. It could be totally the opposite for you. But if you can go somewhere to try before you buy, I would really recommend that, because, like I say, there is so much to be said for practical experience over practical experiences over theoretical experience, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I hope that's the question. Going to move on to question 3 now. Okay, so question 3 is, when I record guitar, it never sounds as spacious as it does in the room. So, do you add EQ? Do you use EQ, sorry, after you record your intros? And do you record to your computer or a digital recorder? Okay, so recording is a bit of recording is so finicky. Mic placement on the speakers, the distance from a speaker to the mic you use, the lead you use, where your amp is set up, where it's positioned, the room it's in. There's so many factors. The pre's it might be going into. What program are you running it into? What console are you running into? What DAW are you using? It's got so many facts. Recording has got so many factors on kind of like, how it sounds good or sounds bad, or not big or small, whatever. So, I don't really know. I think you said you were using like a Tascam kind of multi-track recorder. Multi-track recorders never set. I don't think. I'd say that depending on which one it is. I mean, the old tape ones, I reckon, they don't sound massive. There's not much space in the sound, but that's mainly because everything's kind of mono, near enough. So you're not getting much space. Panning, I think, is key to any recording. I always pan things left and right. Especially guitars. It's very rare I have a guitar that sits down the middle in a mix. I always have it off to the left or off to the right. It might only be minor, but it's still there. I don't like guitars straight down the middle. Like drums and bass and vocals, definitely. But guitars, I think, they need to sit out of that spectrum. Like, I always see it as like, when you're mixing or writing a song, when you're recording and writing a song, I always see it as this kind of like this spectrum where you got the left hand side, you got the right hand side, and then you got the middle. And in the middle goes kind of like the vocals and the drums and the bass, and they sit in the middle because they're the kind of like they're the centerpiece of the music. And then the guitars and acoustic guitars and any other noises and stuff like that, outlying instruments like pianos and stuff like that, and string sections like that, just need to lie in the outsider spectrum from the middle section. You know, I like things to be on the right side and I like things to be on the left side to add a bit more kind of a textural thing. I don't like guitars down the middle. I don't really like that at all. It really... Sometimes it's really cool. Sometimes it works. Sometimes I just don't like it and it doesn't appeal to me. And the sound it makes gets on my nerves sometimes when they're down the middle. It's like, it's just too in your face and I don't really like that. There are some times when that comes in really handy, but for my ear, it doesn't really appeal. But it depends on your EQ settings as your amp as well. I mean, if your EQ settings are high in treble and very, very bright, it's going to sound thin when you record it. If they're dark, it'll sound dull. So it's all about kind of like finding a happy medium. Again, practical experience, not theoretical experience of kind of going, well, this mix sounded dark, I'll just add more treble next time. That might not be the thing. You have to try everything to find out what it is. Also, speaker and mic placement is key. I always mic up either with the microphone half on the cone and half on the dust cover, or on the cone with the right side of a microphone, or the one of each side of a microphone, just where the dust cover kind of curves is. So kind of like, if that's the dust cover, the microphone sits here, and then that's normally where I mic up. But there are some times where I'm just kind of like, move it over a little bit to the right, so it's kind of half on, half off, and I like that as well. That's a really nice sound, actually. I prefer that sound, but sometimes I like the darkness that just sticking the mic just off center of the dust cover gives. I like that more. But again, it's all, when you're recording, it's all down to the sound spectrum I see it as. So you've got what's in the center, and then you've got the guitars and stuff and textural sounds on the right and side, because I feel the drums, bass, and the vocals are the kind of key component of a song. They're important. They're the bedrock of the songs, let's say, and the guitars and whatnot can kind of sit on the outside of on the side of it and not interfere, but still do their job. You know what I mean? The guitar should always be panned left or right, I feel. I do like hard panning stuff as well. Like you just crank things to the sides for that full kind of stereo thing, but I don't do it a great deal. I definitely just prefer kind of like minor panning and just finding where they sit in the spectrum more. I like that more. But so you mentioned so that's how I perceive that. But again, there's so much in recording I don't know yet. I'm still learning on that front. Again, just by going through things and whatnot. But you said, do I use EQ after I record? No, I don't. The only EQ is on the amp, and that like basically what you hear is what you get, kind of thing, really. Because from the SM57 mic I use, it goes into the XLR lead, and then it goes into the Zoom Q8, and that's it. And then it goes into the mic pre in the Zoom Q8, and that's it. And as far as I know, they're a flat EQ in the Q8, which is where you want it anyway. You never want to be kind of coming from, especially in live sound. Live, you always want to have the EQ as flat as possible, unless there's really fizzy, in which case you cut the highs. If it's really bassy, you cut the lows, and then like you got any mids there to kind of like if it's a bit clunky and clumsy sounding, you can cut them as well. I never boost frequencies unless it really needs it. In recording I do, but live I don't like boosting frequencies. I just cut them. But it just seems counterproductive to kind of go, oh, this is really bassy, I'll turn up the treble or the high if it's a PA, because that's not going to get rid of the low end. That's just going to get the high higher. If it's really if you're mixing a band and you're on the desk and they're really bassy, you don't, if you turning up you boosting the treble to kind of compensate is not compensating. You're just adding treble on top of treble. and then the low end is still going to be there. You need to cut it out altogether, so you decrease the low and you leave everything kind of like at 12 o'clock position. Guitar wise, when I record guitar, the first thing I do on my guitars when I record them, if I'm recording a song, not when I'm doing intro jams, is going to get an EQ plugin, and I cut off all the low end of the guitar. I just wipe the low end straight off, just get rid of it altogether, and I find the guitars sit better in the mix if you do that. So, but as for my intro jams, no, the EQ that you get, the sound you get, is from what my amp's set to. So I don't do anything like that. So they just go straight into the Q8, which the mic pre's are just set flat, as far as I know. So there's no EQ coming from the Zoom Q8. They're just a flat, bed, if you will, for your sound to kind of come into. And I say, do I record to computer or digital recorder? No, I just when I do my intro jams, I record to, just record straight to the Q8. Everything just goes into this thing, and it's just so carefree. This camera is just so carefree. I adore it to bits. As somebody who's massively impatient, and when I hear something in my head or I start playing something I want to record straight away, I haven't got the patience to kind of sit around and wait for Pro Tools to load up and then get the camera set up and get all this and the other. The Q8 is wicked. In fact, I can just plug in the mic in the back, press record, and away I go. I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? I found the volume settings at work, and they haven't moved. They move very occasionally, but I know the kind of little numbers they need to be at. So again, creature of habit. But no, I mean, I don't like the idea of that kind of thing. I mean, in certain cases, yeah, it's cool, definitely, but I like the idea of not having to kind of worry about syncing up audio with video and stuff like that, because I'd get so frustrated and fed up and bored of it so quick. The Q8 cuts all that out, which I'm supremely grateful for. I love the Q8 so much. The Q8 is one of those cameras that, if it died, I would buy another one. I'd just buy another one. The only thing that does bug me, I say, apart from the LCD screen being like a gloss finish, which you can't see in bright light, the only other thing is the fisheye lens. I really like it personally. I like it because you can see so much, but I dislike it in the fact of it warps things and makes things look weird. I get comments every now and again where it's our guitar on that, your guitar neck is warped. And it's not. It's just obviously, if over in this corner of the camera here, and this corner over here, because it's a fisheye wide-angled lens. 160-degree wide-angled lens. It gives that fisheye effect. So things in the middle are straight. But saying that, if I do this and zoom it in, that fisheye thing kind of goes away. It kind of if you zoom in, kind of to certain increments, that fisheye thing goes away because you're closing the aperture. But I really do like it on wide angle. It's so cool. Anyway, and it sounds good, and it picks up sound like nobody's biz. It's ridiculous. The XY mic on the top is super sensitive. Like today, for instance, I couldn't do a video outside because the wind would just kind of buffet it, and I didn't bring a wind suppressor because I'm an idiot. That would have helped, but yeah, it's my own fault. I'm not very clever when it comes down to things like that, really, sometimes. I always forget things. Anyway, but yeah, I don't add EQ to my recordings. I don't need to. Like I say, all I need is a flat EQ bed for my guitar sound to sit on, and that's what the Q8 does, and it's really cool. So I don't have to worry about that, and I don't record. I just record into the Q8. I mean, I'd recommend the Q8 to anybody. They're just so easy to use, and they're just so perfect, and they sound great, and they pick up the sound you want, and they are super versatile. I mean, you can do so much with them. They're just wicked. They're just wicked. Absolutely awesome cameras. I cannot rave enough about the Q8. I really can't. I love it so much, and yeah, I really can't say any more. But yeah, so yeah. Do I add EQ? No. I say the EQ just comes from my amp. It's just a 57 on the JCM 900 cab or Katana or whatever I'm using at that point in time. And yeah, I've recorded the Q8. There have been times in the past where I've thought about kind of doing videos with different audio and this and the other, but it doesn't appeal to me. And again, because I'm really not tech savvy in any way, shape, or form, It eventually get on my nerves. I think I'll get bored of it. Like, I ain't got much patience for computers. I don't have any patience whatsoever with computers. My fuse runs out very fast with that kind of thing. So so the Q8 cuts out all stress, and again, I can capture moments in time really quick and easy with it as well. I always keep it fully charged as well, so whenever I need it, it's there. There have been a few times where I've let it die, and I've gone to it and I need it, and it won't, and it obviously won't turn on because the battery's on. I'm like, no, and then you kind of have to suffer the consequence of like not getting that kind of moment in time recorded. But most of the time, I like to keep it fully charged. So if there's if a mood takes me, I've got it. There's so many. All the Untitleds are pretty much that, and there's quite a few other little videos here and there where it just captures a point in time, and I'm all for that. I love capturing points in time. So yeah, don't use EQ. No, I use EQ a lot when I record songs and mix songs, but I don't use EQ on my intro jams or anything that isn't a fully recorded song. If I'm recording a song, I use Pro Tools. But again, that's not kind of video and audio. That's just audio. So yeah, that's it really. So I hope that answers the question. We'll move on to final question of the day. Question 4. Has it gone really quick, or is it me? Maybe it's here. Maybe because I'm outside. I don't know. Anyway, question 4. Okay, so question 4 is, how do I get started with learning music theory? Okay, so music theory, how do you get started with that? You get started with that when you feel you're ready to, and not until. I can't stress that enough. You don't want to be diving into music theory if you don't particularly feel like you want to just yet. You've got to be ready for... You've got to be ready for it, really. You can't just be kind of like, I want to learn this, that, and the other kind of thing now. It's, yeah, it's... And then, another thing about music theory is, I speak about this all the time, is you've really got to learn what you are going to use. There is no point you learning stuff you're never going to use. If you just want to be kind of like, a blues-based field player, there's no point you going off and learning Super Locrian mode, because you're never going to probably use it. And also it's kind of like a waste of time when you could be put into something else. But you do need to learn theory. There's no two ways about it. But you only need to learn what you want to learn. You don't learn anything you don't want to learn. I don't know if that makes any sense. That was a really stupid statement. But hopefully it makes somewhat kind of sense. I'm going to take this off a sec. Because this is that's my face mask, everybody. Every time I feel like I go into a shop at this point, I feel like I should rob it because I'm wearing a face mask like a bandit. It's weird. Anyway, where are we? Music theory. Music theory can be a rabbit hole. Saying that what can't be in the guitar world or music world in general is a rabbit hole. But one sec. Get started. I mean, how do you get started? To get started, I mean, you want to start simple. Learning like where chords are, how a chord is voiced, so you get your 1, your 3rd, and your 1, 3, 5, and which one's it, which one do you flatten to make it a minor, and which one, if it's a minor, do you sharpen to make it a major, and and learn the chords up and down the neck and where they are, and learn the neck of the guitar to the point where you can be quite comfortable kind of like that. I mean, I don't know notes on the guitar all over the place. I know the notes on the E and the A strings, and that's it. I don't know the D, G, and B strings very well, but I know where I am on them when I'm on them, depending on what key I'm in. Again, just through experience and playing and playing and playing. So, start simple. Just learning chords. What chords are called? G minor, A minor, blah, blah, blah. Once you kind of go from there, once you get that, you can kind of move on to kind of like, starting to look at scales and starting to look at your pentatonic scales and the 5 positions of a pentatonic scale. And then kind of like, get them under your fingers and practice them in every key. So no matter what key you're in, you can comfortably get through it. And then if you get to that point and you want to learn more theory, that's when you can start diving into modes and stuff like Superloquium mode, and also kind of like stuff like just all sorts of different things here and there. Really, you can start diving into more heavy stuff, but you have to be honest with yourself when learning theory. You don't want to be coming from the angle of, I've got to learn this because people told me so. Because you can end up in a very, very bad situation where it can take away your desire, because you're not learning what you want to learn. You're kind of forcing yourself into a situation you don't want to be in. And you don't want that. You don't want that. That's kind of, when I studied guitar in London, I was kind of, I tried to really kind of make a go at the whole theory thing. And it was killing my enjoyment for playing the guitar, because I started to feel myself analysing the guitar. And everything was from a theoretical standpoint, instead of actually playing the thing. And just letting my emotions guide me, and letting music guide me. I was kind of going, right, well, we're in A minor, so I could use C major on this if I wanted to. And I could also use this, and that, and the other, and I could use this mode, and I could use that. And eventually kind of was like, I don't like this. I don't like the way this is making me feel. And I don't like the way this is making me think. Because I've never enjoyed thinking when I play. I like to be able to just kind of go, switch off, and just play. Totally unconsciously, unconscious thought is key for me. So what I did is basically I learned my pentatonics, which I already knew. I just didn't know they were pentatonics, because there was no one around who could tell me any of this. So I kind of learned that lot, and then understood it, and then I'd practice it in every key. And I would just challenge myself to kind of like, play along with songs in different keys, learn songs in different keys, and just try and solo over them and create something. And that's what I did, and still do. But I'm happy with the amount of musical theory knowledge I have at this point in time. That could change in the future, and probably will. But at this point in time, I'm really happy where I am from a theory standpoint. I know enough to make me play the way I want to play, if that makes any sense. And I feel that's key. It's like anything. You don't want to be doing something you don't want to do, really, because it's just going to be really... It's counterproductive. Like, hugely counterproductive. And I just don't think it's really good for your kind of mental state as well. I think it's, because it can destroy your love and desire for something if you're not careful. Like, if you dive into something too far, it can kind of... it can have a negative effect on it, and it did for me. And I know a few other people that it's had a negative effect on. Some people, like my brother, just reveled in it. My brother's like a theory genius. Like, if I don't know something theory-wise, I'll go to him and he'll be able to oh yeah, this and he'll be able to explain it. But I'm not interested in that. That's never intrigued me to be kind of like the actual kind of the fountain of knowledge when it comes down to every part of musical theory. I just found that wasn't for me, kind of, not early on, but early-ish on. I learned what I wanted to learn, and then I just pushed the rest aside and said, maybe I'll come to that when I'm ready, but I'm not ready. I will, I'll know when I'm ready, and obviously, and music will guide me to it when I'm ready. But at this point in time, I don't need it. So there's no point in me learning it, because it'd just be wasted knowledge for me. And if it's wasted knowledge for me, I'll just forget it. And then what was the point in the first place in learning it? If I'm not going to use it practically, it's kind of pointless for me to learn it. You know what I mean? There's no point me learning, like I say, the Superloquium mode. I bring it up all the time because it just didn't. I didn't like the sound of it either. But there's no point me learning that thing if I'm never going to use it, because it's just I'll just end up forgetting it. Funny enough, I have, because I used to know how it worked and understand it, but I don't anymore. So getting to theory, you just got to start at the bottom. Learn chords. Learn how a chord is built with the 1, 3, and the 5, and the flat third. And then obviously, you got your 7th, and you got your 9th, and you can build chords and stuff like that. And learning chord names and chord shapes and patterns and how they fit together and stuff like that. That's really cool. Chord harmony. And then learning your scales, your 5 position, your pentatonic scales, you know, and then kind of learning them in every key so you can run up and down the neck. And then once you got to that point, that's when I feel you kind of need to kind of, you know, figure out where you want to go with it, if that makes any sense. Like, you know, like where do I want to go from this point? You know, do I want to keep going down the theory line, or have I got enough knowledge now to kind of pursue what I want, so to say? So give me a second. Get a dry throat. So yeah, but yeah, learning theory is totally subjective and personal. You can't and shouldn't be ever pressured into learning something you don't want to learn. If somebody says, "Oh, you've got to learn this," no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to learn anything you don't want to. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You know, obviously within reason. But you know, from a musical standpoint, you know, it's like if you went to a guitar shop and you tried like a Strat and a Les Paul, and the Strat really spoke to you, but somebody there said, "Oh no, you need a Les Paul. Les Paul is king." And you buy the Les Paul and you leave the Strat and you get home and all of a sudden you decide, "Oh, I don't really want to play this." You know, it's all about being really brutally honest and true to yourself and what you want and what you don't want. And not being afraid to go, "I don't want to do that," or "I'm not doing that." You know what I mean? It's really key to kind of like be kind of brutal, really, and to yourself, really, as well. I mean, as well to all people. If people say you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do that, no, you don't. If you don't want to do it and you feel it'll be uncomfortable or a hindrance to you, or it'll not, what's the word? Can't think of the word. Basically, if it's not practical to you, if you're not going to use it, don't bother with it. It's kind of pointless. You do need to know theory. There is no two ways about it. To progress as a player, you need to learn theory. You need to know your scales, you need to know your chords, you need to know basic harmony and stuff like that, so you can kind of get through things, you know, thirds, fourths, fifths. You know, learning chord harmony and stuff like that, and learning harmony in general is really important. And theory is important. It's just how far down the rabbit hole do you want to actually go? And there is a limit. There's a limit to certain people. And my limit, I found, was just kind of like where I am now. I'm very happy where I am now. Like I say, that will probably change in a few years, or it might not. We just don't know. It could change tomorrow. You know, all of a sudden I could wake up tomorrow and want to play jazz and learn all fusion stuff. You never know. You know, you've got to go by what music wants you to do. So when you can play what music wants you to play, then that you're all good. When you can't play what music wants you to do, you have to kind of like, you know, you have to find out why. And then you have to strive and start heading towards getting better at that so you can do what it wants you to do. Yeah. But be careful, you know, just because somebody says you need to learn it doesn't necessarily make it so. I would, however, go against that on certain things like, you know, your pentatonic scales and stuff like that. If you want to learn to solo, pentatonic scales are your bread and butter. You need to know them. If you want to learn to solo, then that's the way to go. But saying that, if you don't want to solo and you're not interested in scales, don't bother. You know what I mean? Just learn what you want. Learn what you want. That is the key to everything. Always learn what you want. Don't learn what you don't want, because it's going to be counterproductive, pointless, and you'll just end up getting really frustrated, and it can kill your love for music, and that's not good. You don't want that. So, yeah, because it is a bit of a rabbit hole, and it can be a never-ending rabbit hole, and you've got to be careful. You've got to keep track on what you want, and again, being brutally honest with yourself is key. So anyway, yeah, that's it. I've spoke about this quite a lot, actually. I might do a video on this at some point, just kind of explaining a bit more of my theory behind it, and explaining what theory I know and stuff like that. I don't know, people with you, would you be interested in seeing kind of like a video on kind of like me talking about what theory I know, and kind of like, you know, what I learned, and, you know, and where I kind of stopped for the time being. You know what I mean? My musical theory knowledge course, if you will, what the road is on pause, because I'm happy where I am. Obviously, I'm still learning all the time. I'm still finding things I can do with pentatonics. You know, it's an absolute bottomless pit of incredibleness, pentatonics are. Anyway. Oh. That's better. Really dry throat today. Anyway. But yeah, just be aware. Just be wary. And like I say, just because people say you need to learn it doesn't make it so. Just because people say you need it doesn't make it so. You know, just because whatever, you know, you need to be honest and true to yourself. You don't want to be living and you don't want to be playing through somebody else's ideas of what you should be doing, if that makes any sense. You know, you want to be playing through what you want with your sound and your ideas, you know what I mean, and find a way. Find your way, sorry, should I say. You know, not somebody else's. Everyone's on their own path. And although our paths cross, they never go the same way, if that makes any sense whatsoever. You know, just because, you know, we're going this direction together and every now and again, you know, we do this and we switch, doesn't mean, you know, what this person's doing is what this person should do. You know what I mean? It's not... Everyone's got to do what they have got to do, really, you know, and they've got to follow their own kind of voices and their own kind of music and stuff like that. And, you know, you've got to be true and honest to yourself, and you've got to be brutally honest with yourself as well. And you just got to push yourself. You know, you just got to really push yourself to be the best you can be no matter what's going on. You know, you never want to be phoning it in. You know, if you feel like you're phoning it in, then you need to question the situation you're in. You know, because it's not, you don't want to be doing that. You got to be brutally honest with music. You know, if you're brutally honest with music, music will be brutally honest with you, and then it'll help guide you and it'll lead you, and then you can turn your brain off, which is great. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Q&A Wednesday, A&Q Wednesday. Everybody out and about. Like I said, it was going to be a lot nicer because we were going to be out there, but unfortunately, with the motor speedway, it sounds like over in the distance, it's super loud, and it'd been like super windy where I am. I unfortunately can't do it, which is a bit of a pig. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. I hope you enjoyed this A&Q Wednesday, everybody. If you want to submit a question for A&Q, description box below has an email link. Send your questions there. Yeah, and yeah, I'll see you again on Friday for another vid, and have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. And is there anything else I need to say? No, present. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Haha. Goodbye now. Thank you. See you again.